welcome back to my channel. It's me, Rachel the Student Witch. How are y'all doing? I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope by the time I actually publish this video that the weather is better, because we've had a week straight of gray, stormy, wet, gross Georgia early spring weather. Although I feel bad for the people up further north along the east coast of the US because this gross rainy weather is turning into winter snowstorms up there. Sorry guys, but this video is going to come out in March. But I just wanted to take a moment before going to pick up my partner from work and enjoying our Friday together. I wanted to talk about how I got my groove back, and also how I lost my witchy groove. Now, the subject of losing your witchy groove, getting out of sync with your spiritual practice, just losing the spark and the fire, it's something that it's a pretty common subject. I've seen several videos here on YouTube of fellow YouTube pagans and witches talking about it. It's something that just happens. And I think, first of all, especially if you're fairly new to your practice, it's just something that it's not that it shouldn't take you by surprise, it's just don't feel bad. Don't take it to a shadowy place and start kicking yourself about losing the spark, because it's kind of like being in a long-term relationship with someone. The sparks are flying and there's fireworks and rainbows and hearts and everything is ecstatic and energetic and high energy and high vibe toward the beginning. But if you are interested in being in a long-term relationship with somebody, right, it's not going to be that way forever. I've been with my partner for 7 years total. We've been married for nearly 5. Our 5th year wedding anniversary is later in a few months from now. But we've been together for a total of 7 years, and I know he is my chosen soulmate. He is the person that I would love to spend the rest of my life with. He brings out the best in me. He compliments me, you know, and I'm sure he would say the same about me. But those sparks that we felt for the first 6 to 8 months of our relationship, they're different. Instead of sparks, it's more like a strong but slow burning fire. It's like the embers of a fire that keep the whole house warm overnight for a long time, you know, because if you light a match and you expect that match to last forever, that ain't gonna happen, because eventually the match is gonna run out of fuel. You want that like thick piece of wood. You know, maybe I'm taking this analogy too far, but you know what I mean. Like, think of your practice in those terms. That might help, especially if you're early on in your practice. And I'm still fairly new to this. I've only been exploring my own witchiness and owning my pantheism and paganism and whatnot since 2014. So I'm going on 5 years, 4.5 to 5 years on this path, and there's ebbs and flows, just like with a relationship, and it's okay to momentarily lose that spark, but I'm going to tell you how I rekindled mine. And I'm a Sagittarius, I'm a fire sign. If you look at my birth chart, actually, it's all mostly fire, earth, and a little bit of water. There's like no air at all. I mean, I know we all have, like, if you look at my planetary positions and stuff in my birth chart, it's all fire and fire, earth, and a little bit of water. So I'm a very fiery but earthy, fiery, watery, a little bit fiery person. So anyway, I use a lot of fire analogies. Anyhow, so before I get into how I rekindled my flame, my witch flame, which is the reason I got this tattoo, let me talk briefly about how I lost it and grab some water. So I am beginning my dissertation. It's taken me forever to wrap up my prospectus. Right now I'm doing like the revisions that my advisor sent me. I'm revising my prospectus, and that can be kind of an ego-crushing process, especially if you have some imbalances or some unhealthy ego stuff going on, like perfectionism, imposter syndrome, what else? Insecurities about your writing and the value of your research. And unfortunately, and I'm going to get into this, I don't know, depending on when I get this video out, because I am filming this in February, I might go into this at a deeper level either before this video comes out or after. If it's before, I'll definitely link it up here. But as part of my Witching Through Grad School series, I do want to get into perfectionism, procrastination, and imposter syndrome, because those are my 3 little demons that like to hitch a ride right here on my shoulder and stay with me as I'm going through this process. And so I'm going through the revision process, and I'm also, starting to try to put my dissertation together, and it's a growing moment. It's a humbling moment as a little baby, academic, learning to stretch and try to flap its wings before jumping out of the nest, right? Before graduating and like becoming a professor in my own right, or getting a postdoc or whatever. But at the same time, I'm also preparing for a major life change, which is moving abroad, and all the complicated emotions my partner and I are feeling about that, because he's Chilean, and so he's here on a visa. Even though we've been married for close to 5 years, I can't get him a green card until we go back to Chile. That's just how it is. We've talked to 3 different lawyers, gone through this fucking process. That's just how it is. And so we're not necessarily going to South America by choice. We don't have a lot of money, and so that limits us and what we can do. It's a stressful process trying to figure out my immigration in Chile, because we're going to be there most likely 3 years. So I need to get some sort of visa or the Chilean equivalent to a green card and go through all that process, and it's a mess. And so major life changes are happening in terms of my career and how fulfilling or difficult my career path is proving to be, and also major changes are happening in terms of our relationship and relocating abroad and being far away from everything that's familiar to me, and just a lot of shit is going on. And so if you find yourself in a major life change moment, even if it's a quote positive moment, and I really hate those stupid binaries like light, dark, positive, negative, but you know what I mean. Like if you're preparing to get married, but you're, putting together the wedding and all that, and how stressful that can be. Like major life changes require a lot of attention and energy, but they also require a lot, in the ideal case, a lot of time to decompress and a lot of time for self-care. And so dealing with these major changes in my life, I did need a lot of time to decompress, to just zone out sometimes, to just like do pleasure reading, to sleep in every once in a while, to, sometimes it's just, my spiritual practice took a back burner by default. And then on top of that, dealing with the perfectionism and the imposter syndrome issues, I needed to do intense, deep shadow work, which I did for 3 or 4 months last year. And that was exhausting. But I'm finally starting to see the other side of all of that shadow work, and trying to put the lessons I learned in that shadow work to practice, which is incredibly important. If you go through all that shadow work and you learn things about yourself, but then you don't implement anything, if you don't put those lessons into action, then what was the point of the shadow work, So there are, I'm going to break this down to 3 things that have been immensely helpful for me to rekindle, reclaim, rediscover my witch flame. And the number one, or this isn't in particular order, but the first thing is to revisit your foundations. Revisit the books that you read at the very beginning of your practice when you first discovered this path. Those books that are just ingrained in your mind that gave you those like personal gnosis moments. Revisit those books. Or read new books that are foundational books, like beginner witchcraft books. It's not just for beginners. You know, we can all benefit from periodically, whether it's every 6 months, every year, every 2 or 3 years, whatever. We can all benefit from revisiting our foundations, right? So for me, right now, actually, I am rereading, well, actually, let me show you. Where is it? Where's my notebook? Oh, no. Oh, I'm sitting on it. I put together, this is my Witchy bullet journal video, and I have a video I made earlier this year in January that I'll link up here in the cards of my Witchy bullet journal setup, because I've decided to have 2 bullet journals, one dedicated to my academic work and life stuff, and then my witchy one. And in my witchy bullet journal, I have, where is it? I have a 2019 reading list, my roots and foundations. And I broke it down into the different aspects of witchcraft, paganism, chaos magic, pantheism, spirituality, the different aspects that called to me and inspired me from the very beginning. So the goddess, feminist works, paganism, hoodoo, root work, and conjure, and spirit and psychology. And so right now, I'm I'm reaching for books, sorry, I'm bouncing in and out of the camera, but I'm reading about Buddhism, the heart of the Buddhist teaching, because this just speaks to my soul. It speaks to this approach, like especially Buddhist psychology, and this approach to understanding the self, and practices like mindfulness and mindfulness meditation, compassion, the emphasis on compassion, and Buddhist meditation, METTA, about compassion, right? Ego death, and the dissolution of self, or letting go of self and not gripping so much on limiting definitions of ourself and that kind of stuff. This is just speaking to me, so this speaks to me. But also, some aspects of traditional witchcraft speak to me. So right now, I'm reading through Ritual Craft, and so this is a new book for me, but it's helping me to rethink and redefine what ritual and the different aspects of ritual mean to me, and to reorganize my rituals. I actually took notes the other day on what the 13 basic steps of ritual are for me, and I'll get into this in a future Tools of Belief video. That's a series that I've started or will start on my channel, talking about the different tools of belief, or the different aspects of my practice and how I use these different tools, and ritual is a tool. This is an essential tool, and so I have the different steps of ritual and what that means to me. And here, I highly recommend, if you feel like you're in a funk concerning your rituals, or you feel like you need to shake things up, or you don't feel like the foundations to your ritual practice are solid, I highly recommend this book. It is a big chunky one, but I think Jessie Huntenberg, like a few months ago, posted a picture of her copy of this book on Instagram, and that I just knew, like, oh my god, I needed it. So I went ahead and treated myself to a copy. But this is such a good book for revisiting the foundations of ritual. Such a good book. And I'm a solitary. A lot of the information in this book is geared towards group practice, but even as a solitary, I I've gotten so much out of it. It's helped me to like rediscover and remember some of the foundations of my own ritual practice. I'm also revisiting books on Appalachian folk magic, hoodoo, root work, and conjure. I'm rereading right now on my Kindle The Candle and the Crossroads by Orion Foxwood, which was the very first witchy book I ever read, and it just spoke so deeply to me because I have my own ancestral roots in Appalachia. I grew up in Kentucky, you know, so it just spoke so deeply to me. I'm also going to reread Orion Foxwood's other book that I have here, The Flame in the Cauldron, a book of old style witchery. And as you can see, when I first read it a few years ago, I notated the fuck out of it. So I'm revisiting that. So yeah, revisit your foundations. And this isn't just rereading books or reading books on other foundational practices like ritual and that kind of stuff, or reading new intro to witchcraft kind of books. It's more like, you know, it's kind of like feeding your inner child. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, is inner child work. It's that feeling of newness and discovery. Like when we get in a rut, sometimes it happens because we feel like things are too predictable or too well known. They're too familiar, you know? And so revisiting your foundations, your foundational beliefs, your foundational studies, your foundational practices, whatever those may be. It's like rekindling that fire, that spark that you felt at the very beginning, and revisiting that and remembering that and seeing it from a totally new perspective. Like you might be 10 years into your practice, but you might go back and reread a book that you read 9 years ago toward the beginning of your practice, and you're bringing with that experience of rereading that book 9 years of experience, 9 years of wisdom that you've developed, a new perspective, right? So that's my the number one, not in terms of importance, but the first thing I've talked about, that's number one recommendation, is revisit your foundations. My number two recommendation is explore things that are uncomfortable for you. And the idea of this is to shake up those ruts that we get in, to shake up the familiar, to kind of break through those walls, right? For me personally, I have a tendency towards materialist atheism. And so believing in gods and goddesses, and keeping in mind I'm a chaos witch. I love chaos magic and that approach to magic, right? So I do view belief as a tool, but it's not natural for me to choose to believe in a deity, in personified deity specifically. And so I actually didn't discover my matron deity until March or April 2017. So it's only been about 2 years. I'm still fairly fresh on the path with her. So that wasn't comfortable for me at all. Using belief in that way, believing in personified deity, it just did not come naturally to me. So that is something that has helped me to shake up my practice. And now, of course, do things within reason. Like, you might think, well, I don't feel comfortable jumping over bonfires, but I'm going to jump over a bonfire to shake up my practice. Like, no, I mean, do that if you want, but like within reason, you know? If you don't feel comfortable, maybe you have some body issues for whatever reason, right? And you don't feel comfortable incorporating movement into your ritual. You prefer stillness, and I'm that type of person sometimes. I like stillness because for my ritual, I go in here a lot. I go inward, I journey inward a lot. And so one of the things that I'm trying out to shake up my ritual is to incorporate movement and my body more, like doing yoga, but in a meditative mindset, was very humbling and helped me to like experience grounding in a different way. Getting out of my head and back into my body through movement, through sound, through the next thing that I'm going to try is using my voice, just making rhythmic sounds with my voice during ritual. I'm not comfortable with that at all, but I do feel like I need to do a lot of voice work, so I think that's going to be very healing for me. But I cohabitate, I live with my partner, and so, you know, he's usually either in the kitchen or back toward the back of the apartment on his computer or whatever, and so I might have to warn him before I do this, but I might have to tell him, like, don't come to the front of the house where my ritual's taking place, where my altar is. I'm going to be making weird noises, don't worry. Don't think I'm crazy, which he doesn't. He's totally open-minded and stuff. But, you know, there are practices that might not feel natural or comfortable for us, and it's really good to explore those because they might open up different shadows that you weren't aware of before. Like, I know I have a voice shadow I'm working on right now to like instill my voice in my academic work. So voice work is going to be immensely helpful, but it doesn't come naturally to me, and I don't necessarily feel comfortable doing it because, I don't know, I feel self-conscious about it. So push the envelope. Find those small little things, like it could be movement, incorporating a little bit more movement in your rituals, or finding a different way to meditate, or finding a different way to communicate with your deities or spirits or whoever you work for. Another thing that I've been exploring is prayer. And here's my prayer of empowerment that I have dedicated to my matron. Prayer was very shadowy for me because I grew up Roman Catholic. For a couple of years, when I was in elementary school, we went to a Catholic parochial tiny like parish school, and so we said the rosary every morning, and you know, I was taught to just blindly, you know, memorize and repeat these prayers to prove your devotion to God or whatever. And so prayer was a very shadowy thing for me for a long time, but now I have my prayer of empowerment dedicated to my matron, my prayer of liberation, which is Walt Whitman's Song of the Open Road poem. I have a pagan-y version of St. Francis' Prayer of Peace, and then I also have a pagan-y, like a version that I've modified of the Salve Regina, dedicated to the Mother Mary. So prayer is something that I'm using to shake up my practice. And again, that also rekindles that sense of newness. It rekindles that spark, because it is something new, right? And the third thing that I think is incredibly helpful for getting out of the funk is movement itself. And I'm not talking necessarily about moving your body, although that is included in this. I'm talking about staving off stagnation, and I actually took notes about this today. Keep her moving. So stagnation, at least for me, and this might not resonate with you at all, you might actually find liberation in stillness, and stillness is very important. Stillness and silence are very powerful teachers, right? But I guess to me there's a difference between stillness and stagnation. Stagnation to me, when I start to feel stagnated or stuck, that is a clue or a cue for me to start looking inward and start becoming more aware that something might be up. Oftentimes that means my depression might be resurging, or I might be stuck in like an anxiety loop where that anxiety train just keeps going around in my head, and I can't stop all the negative thoughts and the fearful thoughts and the catastrophizing thoughts, like, you know, that type of stagnation where you're not going anywhere but you're running around in circles but not making progress because those thoughts keep going around and around, right? It could be that I'm not moving my body enough, and oftentimes when I do feel overwhelmed and anxious or depressed, I stop going to the gym, I stop taking good care of my body, I stop doing yoga and stuff like that. Stagnation could be like energetic stagnation, so just inside your living space, whether it's just your private room or your apartment or your house or whatever room or whatever space that you have that you claim is just for you, like, you know, your private space. There could be some stagnation in there, and so one of the best things and very simple things that has helped me has been just to move that energy. And that could be energy in my body, like going back to the gym. I'm right now slowly training myself to be able to run 1 mile because it's been nearly a decade since I've been able to run a mile like straight without dying. I'm doing yoga. I'm trying to commit to doing at least 30 minutes of yoga twice a week. I'm trying to commit at least once a week to go to the 1.5 hour long yoga class that's at my gym every Tuesday night, and holy crap, from like 6:30 to 8 every Tuesday, there's like this dude, he's probably in his 60s, and he can kick my butt in like stamina and flexibility. Holy crap. Well, that's why he's teaching the class. Moving my body has been immensely helpful because it helps to get that anxious energy out. It helps to ground. It helps you to ground back into your body, to love your body, take good care of it, heal your body of issues, because I also have some sciatic pain on my right leg and hip area. So when that kicks in, I know I'm sitting on my butt too much stagnation, right? Breath work. That is something that I'm just beginning to explore, like that yogic breath work. I just did some yoga this morning where there was that lion's breath pose where you're like propped up like a lion, and you're supposed to, you breathe in. Fuck it, I'm gonna do it on camera. Well, not the whole pose, but like there's a certain pose your body is in, right? Very like powerful pose. And then you breathe in, and then you stick your tongue out, and your eyes look up to your third eye, and you like make a sound. You verbally kind of exhale. It's like this. So breathe in, do it with me if you want, if you know what I'm talking about. Then look up to the third eye, stick your tongue out, bare your teeth, own that lion energy, and just go. Okay, it looks weird, but fuck it. It's so powerful. And like, do that if you want to like take in that badass lion energy, just to get the energy moving. That really, really helps. Okay, so breath work and mindfulness breathing, and just like thinking of the breath as just keeping that energy moving within you, right? In your home and in your living space, moving that energy. Like I was saying earlier, if you feel like there's some stagnation going on in your living space or in your private room or whatever, do a cleanse. And for me, doing like a cleanse, a spiritual cleanse, involves physically cleaning shit too. Dust collecting on surfaces and stuff, and a dirty floor, like holy crap, there, for me anyway, there is a noticeable difference in my mood whenever I do something as simple as sweep the floor. Like just sweeping the floor, I feel like I've just like done a deep cleaning or cleansing of the house. But do a physical cleansing or cleaning, and then do a spiritual one in your preferred tradition. That could be something like a floor wash or smudging or asperging. Is that the word? Yes, asperging, when you're sprinkling water and salt, you know, everywhere. Whatever you got to do just to shake things up, right? And get things flowing. And then, of course, for your spirit or your work with your deities, keeping the energy moving there through daily offerings, through regular meditation, through just a regular spiritual practice keeps things flowing too. So yeah, keeping things moving, revisiting your foundations, and exploring practices or aspects of your practice that they push the boundaries of your comfort zone. Those 3 things have helped me immensely to get out of my spiritual funk and to rediscover my witch flame, which is silly that I feel like I forgot about it because I literally have it tattooed here. But you know, life happens, intense changes happen, burnout happens, okay? So I hope you found this video informative. Comment below about how you've gotten into a spiritual funk, or if you find yourself in a funk right now, comment below, talk about it, because that also helps, just getting it out, like through journaling, through talking to people, just getting it out, getting the frustrations and the fears and the anxieties out. It's so cleansing. So comment below, share your ideas and what works for you. Sharing is caring. And until next time, happy witching and many blessings. Bye.